Pat's Pizza and Bistro, 1426 West Broad Street, Bethlehem, PA. One of my favorite places to go in the Valley, and they came on as a sponsor. Yanni's been on the podcast before. He's had me up there from tastings. I've had everything from the chicken fingers, which are made from scratch, all the way up to the brand new pasta flights. The pasta flights are trending. They are flying off the shelves. It's insane that they can even keep up. I met the chef over there. Legit, no joke stuff going on. They use clean ingredients, real food, fresh food. It is family owned, family operated. It is very fast and furious. If you go to their online website, it is right here. You can get all this information. You can order there. You can place pickup orders. You can have delivery on certain days, and the hours of operation are on there as well. Please go check them out. I am not just saying this. They are a legit force to be reckoned with in the Valley. That's Pat's Pizza and Bistro, 1426 West Broad Street, Bethlehem, PA. Luke Delmeyer Knives, handcrafted, handmade knives. I use mine every time we go to the pop-ups, and it is ridiculous. It is just something special. There's something different. It's handcrafted. It's handmade. Luke has grown since we started the show to now, where he is pumping out knives and classes. I want to push his classes. If you go to lukedelmeyer.com, it has all the information for the classes, and you get to take a 2-day course, and you go over everything from safety on how to use it. You're selecting the knife handles out, and you're really from top to bottom getting to go through the whole experience. Where else can you find that in the Valley? Luke is a very special person to the show. He's really cool. We've done projects together. We have apparel we're doing together. I really want you to go check it out. If you're interested in anything, handcrafted stuff, working class stuff, blue collar stuff, like this is the area you need to go to. But it's lukedelmeyer.com, Luke Delmeyer, handcrafted knives. Sign up for those classes, those courses. Go check that out. It's really cool. It's a 2-day event, and you get to experience making your own knife, and then you take your knife home with you. And you're going to take home a little bit more than that. So check out Luke Delmeyer, friend of the show. Always awesome watching him grow. LukeDelmeyer.com. MindleafCBD.com. Mindleaf. Easton Zone, Mindleaf CBD. I didn't know a lot about CBD till they became a sponsor and they started coming on the show a lot. And Liz is huge for, I learn something every time she comes on. They are over in College Hill in Easton. You can check out all their information on mindleafcbd.com. I believe you can order there, but go experience the store. Liz's mom works over there. Liz keeps bringing in products such as the honey flights. They have peanut butter, the infused pretzels. My favorite thing is the tinctures to go to sleep. I have problems sleeping, and these things put me out, and I have a little bit of lucid dreams riding a unicorn, and then I wake up back to normal, and then I get excited to do that again. So my big thing I use with them is the tinctures and the balm. The balm is another one. I use it for aches and pains on my knees, and my old man uses it for his arthritis. Mindleaf CBD. They are over in Easton on College Hill. Please go check the store out. Really cool space, and like I said, Liz's mom's over there, and they will help you with everything. It's awesome that they're super local, and I stand behind their CBD and everything that they got coming out of there. That's Mindleaf CBD, mindleafcbd.com. You match for the walls.
That's good.
You're popping.
Yeah.
Never Again Radio. I have no clue what episode this is. Welcome to Never Again Radio. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. I don't even know how I found your page or how you came across my feed. I think maybe somebody shared it. I really don't remember how I saw it, and then I started going through your stuff, and then I was like, oh, I love like vintage stuff, and I could tell like you, I had Mike on from Obscure Antiques, and so like I really enjoy like the style of like going out and picking and finding all that. And then when we met up, or got on the phone, your story is really interesting to me that you chose to come back here or to here. Most people run for the hills and get out of this area.
People are always like, why did you come here? Like, so.
Well, Easton's a cool place. Like, you definitely fit in with your vibes for Easton.
Yeah, I like it a lot there.
Where did you start getting into vintage stuff? Where did like the whole obsession, before you even opened your shops up, where did that whole thing come from with you wanting to even like dig after older stuff?
Basically it was, It was because of the Beastie Boys. Fight for Your Right to Party came out. I was just like obsessed with ad rock, and he always wore this T-shirt. It was like Bedford Stuyvesant physical education, and I just thought it was like, for some reason, he was so cool, and that T-shirt was so cool, and so I just started thrifting because I was like, I want to find a T-shirt just like that, and like, I wouldn't find a Bed-Stuy one, but I'd find like a different like school one. And that's just how I started thrifting. And then, just like as a punk kid, like just not wanting to dress like anybody else, and, not having like a lot of money. And, I just didn't want to dress like everybody else. And just in a lot of like the music I was into, people were wearing like mod 60s stuff. So I would, it was just like that sort of thing. It was just digging and digging and digging for just to look different, but honestly it was because of the Beastie Boys. I just wanted to look like ad rock, so it really was. So I still do, but
what's crazy is like you kind of triggered some memories from high school, because I remember when the Beastie Boys came out, and that was right around the time when I had a couple of friends who were like into punk rock music and stuff, and then we started going to like thrift stores and putting like safety pins on everything, and like taking like patches and stuff like that, and we were going to different shows, and like that it's a cool the way you explain it, because it's very similar, where like we wanted our own style, and then like our parents weren't going to buy us the clothing we wanted, so you could go with like $10 to the thrift store and get like like we would look for like the satin jackets, and it's kind of lost, but that's kind of like where my fashion started, with wanting to look different and wanting different stuff and getting into music, and I don't know, if you haven't done something like that, you kind of don't know the experience of it, but it's really cool to like go and get old stuff, and I started getting into vintage suit coats for a while, which I stopped because that's way more expensive than I'll show you them when we're done. But so you had the obsession with digging after the stuff, and then did you just start kind of building a collection up? Did you see people opening shops? Where did it kind of go from there?
Well, basically, I mean, I was just picking. It was always like T-shirts too. Like I always, it's all I wore, again, because of the Beast Boys. So it was T-shirts. And then as far as selling vintage, in 1998, and I grew up in Chicago. So in 1998, I was living in California in like the mid 90s, and then I moved back to Chicago, and I opened up a skate shop called Uprise, which is like, it's still there. Uprise skate shop is still there. And it's owned by Uriah, who's like, him and his older brother are like brothers of mine, but so Uriah and people run it now, but so I had, I had the shop, I had the skate shop, but like I totally forgotten that we had our 20-year anniversary like a few years ago. And it was funny because somebody was like, oh, do you remember you had that rack of like Adidas jackets and like Bulls t-shirts in the back? And I was like, oh yeah. Like I used to sell vintage at the skate shop because I just was like always thrifting. And so like, I was like, oh, like I don't wear all this. I mean, I wear it, but I'm not going to wear everything. So I just like, I had a rack at my skate shop. I was just selling it there. And and then, I mean, it was just always, like, I always just was like kind of doing it like as some kind of side hustle. And, and then, I mean, I did that, and then like whatever. I moved to Italy for a couple years, and then like I came back and I just started thrifting again, and I was just selling at like all the markets, and I was part of a vintage co-op, and then the opportunity came to open a shop in like a really cool neighborhood in Oakland. And so I just asked my like good friend who I used to pick with if she wanted to open a shop, and she's like, yeah, let's do it. So we just did a full brick and mortar, and that was in 2012, but I mean, I've been picking for a long time. It's like,
I want to cut through a lot of that. What made you move to Chicago?
Well, I grew up in Chicago.
And then you moved to...
I moved to California.
Yeah. So what made you want to move? Weather, or did you see opportunity?
I was 20, like I just was like, I was born in San Francisco, but I only lived there till I was like 4. So I just was all, with like skateboarding and punk, and like California was like the promised land, like I was just like obsessed with like California culture and like music and skating and like, you know, like Hell's Angels and motorcycle stuff. And like, I don't know if I should say that, but like, you know,
No,
like
you're
I was,
perfectly fine.
I was like just obsessed with like California culture. And so, yeah, I was like, I'm gonna, I don't know. I just felt like at that point, Chicago, it was hard being kind of like a weirdo, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it was cool like going to California because you know, the Bay Area, San Francisco, Oakland, because there was always like somebody weirder than you.
Yeah,
so.
more like-minded people for you to kind of expand on what you
100%
artistically.
Yeah, I mean, Chicago's a big city. It's like New York, but it still has like this Midwest mentality. I mean, I love it. I love Chicago. But for me personally, at the time, it was just a little suffocating. So I had to go off into the wind.
So then when you land in California, where does like the whole business end of it start? Because you just, I mean, you don't just like, hey, I'm going to open a skate shop, or maybe it was that, but like, did you always want to run your own business? Like, did you go to college? Like, where does all that come from for you wanting to open a shop?
Well, so I lived in SF for a few years, and yeah, it was just time for me to move back. So I moved back to Chicago, and Uriah had gotten a friend to open up a skate shop, and it was called Blue Town. And it was open for like almost a year, and then I moved back, and it just wasn't doing. When I had heard that they had opened a skate shop, I was so excited because I was like, oh, finally we like have a space of our own, and you know, all this stuff. And when I moved back, it just wasn't doing real well, so they were gonna shut it down. And in a like drunken car ride home with my friend, with my friend Juan, I was like, he's like, I don't know, I think they're gonna
do it.
Yeah, he's like, I don't know, I think they're gonna close the shop. And I was like, no, I was like, fuck it, I'll buy it. And he's like, really? And I was like, yeah, fuck it, I'll buy it. And then like, I mean, like 2 weeks later, I was like signing contracts.
Yeah.
I was just like,
How old were you at the time?
I had just turned 24.
That's crazy.
I was like,
well, not really. I mean, in your 20s, you're kind of adventurous, and you know, you don't really give a fuck.
No,
so,
I didn't give a fuck.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
like,
your 20s though.
Like I was like, I didn't go to college. Like I'm not that good at math.
So I'm the worst. I love when I run into other people who are terrible at math.
I'm terrible at math.
So you just kind of wanted to save the spot and just kind of keep it alive?
Yeah, because I was so stoked that they had like even just opened something, and like going in there, I mean, it was a little bit of like the boys club, you know, and because they would, I've talked about this before, like they would have like the couch at like the front of the shop, and I was like, bruh, can we like move the couch to the back of the shop so when the kids come in, they're not like scared of all you fucking thugs in the front, you know? So like, it was just like, yeah, it was just like such a cool place. And then I was just stoked that something like that existed, and didn't want, if we had the space, I didn't want to let go of it. So I was like, I'll take it and like try not something different, but just like be more invested in it and just come in with some other ideas.
Did you make a lot of changes to it? Like, kind of like moving stuff around? Was it, because like I saw your shop last week, and like you definitely have an eye for like doing what you're doing. So like, was that kind of the first time that you took an idea from your head and like created like your own space? Because that's what I ended up getting addicted to.
Totally.
And then you just keep wanting to either grow a space, or you kind of use it as your palette to artistically create.
Yeah, 100%. That was 100%. That was the first time that I did something like that, and I really enjoyed it. And yeah, I mean, there was, you know, we changed the name. And it was just sort of, I think, also like having a female in there, like soften the vibe a little bit, you know, because Chicago kids are like, you know, they're a little rough, you know, but like, you know, and so was I. So, you know, it was like, and they were all my friends I grew up with, but it was just, I just tried to make it a little more of like a welcoming place, and like, I'm not saying family friendly, but just like for the younger kids to come in and feel more comfortable.
Yes, you're not intimidated right off the bat.
Yeah. Like
so it's not just a clubhouse. You actually are selling things.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like that's what the problem was. It was just like it was a clubhouse. I was like, well, we have to sell stuff. So yeah, just little stuff like that. And then I just did a lot of, you know. Then it was like just doing events every month, like, you know, skate jams, movie nights, you know, skate races, and I putting on punk shows and putting out some records. It was just like a really active time for, I mean, skateboarding had kind of died, and then there was just a lot going on in Chicago, and it just ended up being a real active time in like the skateboard scene. But that was definitely like the first time I like created a space, and I enjoyed it, you know.
Yeah, and then doing all those things like putting on shows and like doing all that networking, you don't realize like how much that pays back tenfold
Oh, yeah.
down the road when like you stick into a project.
Oh yeah, 100%. I always had said, like, you know, like if you give to skateboarding gives back to you, and if you just stay true to it, you know, it's just, you know, because I go back to Chicago now, and it's crazy because it's like I used to put boards together for kids, and now like those dudes are coming in with their kids, you know, and it's like, it's just so cool because it's like now like second, third generations of like people coming in. And I'm just, you know.
Is that weird for you to go back there and see something that you kept? Because if you wouldn't have done that, it probably would have changed the space out and maybe been something else.
Yeah,
but because you basically stepped in, is that weird to be like, holy shit, this is still open and working?
Yeah, I mean, Uprise is huge. Like, you know, like we've had like Nike Dunk collab, and this is like due to Uriah and like the people involved in the shop. I mean, that one of the reasons I left was because I felt like it needed to sort of like expand and get bigger, and I just still had that like punk mentality where I was like, I just wanted to keep it for us, and I knew that it wasn't going to survive like that. So I had to sort of like pass it on, and that's all Uriah has made it. You know, I feel like we really like set the core value of like core shop and core scene, and that was so strong that we were, you know, Uriah was able to take it and make it like a bigger, more successful thing. And yeah, I mean, it's crazy because I'll like they just put up an ad for I think it's the third shoe Vans has done with Uprise, and like seeing the ad for it, I'm all like, oh, it's so crazy. And like, it's funny.
It is crazy.
Yeah, it's weird. I'm like, wow. Like, you know, sometimes when I tell like people that, they're like, wait, what? Like, you started Uprise? I'm like, yeah, you know, like it was like 500 years ago, but you know, but yeah, I still consider them like family, and I still consider myself a part of it. And
yeah, that's cool. I mean, most people would probably take the avenue of being jealous or think that they want to be, you know, keep it the way they want. Like, I like that you were like, no, I can like go find another palette and do what I want to do over here with a different shop. And then you guys, like, it's cool that you thought that far ahead where you actually saw the growth of the store and that you needed to walk away for that to happen.
Yeah, 100%. That's because, you know, I don't know, because I love it, you know.
You care about it.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And I care about those people a lot. So, yeah, you know, sometimes you just got to walk away. It's fine.
Yeah. Especially when you're like wanting to get into something totally different. And then you now it's not like you didn't take anything from that, because now you opened a successful shop where now you can kind of like, you know that you can open up a shop. That's exactly like you know, doing it that young, I had just no idea what I was doing and made so many mistakes. And that's how you learn from them, though.
Exactly.
I tell everybody who comes on here, or younger people who ask advice about doing stuff, I'm like, I only learned that way of like, you have to burn my hand with a cigar.
Oh, yeah, 100%. I'm like,
I'm the kid who spilled paint in the garage, you know? So, for me, it was always learning by mistakes, and even to push the show to as far as it is now and like what we plan on doing next, it's just like I see everything moving faster because I fucked up for 22 years, and now it's like, oh, this is so many years that like, oh, hey, wait, maybe you don't do that.
No.
And it takes a while to get there, but like sometimes you don't realize, like, you know, making a healthy decision to leave a situation and not be selfish about it because you care more about the store. What you took is priceless to go on.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. I was also burnt out. Yeah, it was just time. I was like, my time here is done. I need to go off into the wind and do something else. And
so where'd you go after that?
So I moved. That's when I moved to Rome, Italy.
That's a big jump.
Yeah, well, that's why when people are like, "You moved from California to the East Coast," I was like,
I like it though. Like, you know, it's like risk taking. It's like you don't care. You know, you obviously seem like a person who likes experience.
Yeah, I just don't. I think because of opening that shop so young, I'm fortunate that I don't really have like this fear of failure. Like, I just feel like if something doesn't work, you just change you just adapt and change and do something else. And so,
And the fact that that's still open, it's like you have a lifeline to like looking and being like, hey, you can't really say it's not going to work because you have this. So you're obviously doing something a little wrong, make some moves.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, I'm half, I have dual citizenship, so I'm half first generation. So I had just always sort of wanted to go, like, I don't know, get in touch.
Did you have family there?
Yeah, my father's side of the family's there. And so I just always wanted to sort of like learn about my Italian culture.
Did you start the journey with staying with family, or
what was
the move?
I had a friend of mine married. It was just all just like so weirdly kismet or whatever. But like a friend of mine who I grew up in Chicago, she ended up she went to Rome, met a guy, they got married, he moved to Chicago, and he's like was a hardcore kid, punker, eventually started tattooing. So like, and so his friends came to Chicago to visit, so I ended up being friends with a lot of the Rome kids, and then we went there to visit, and I was like, oh, I want to move to, I'm like, oh, this is a like really cool place to live. And so I was like, I don't know, like I'm gonna move and like get to know my family better, and just like, I don't know.
I love the overlapping with like the tattoo stuff and like skateboarding and tattoos and all that stuff overlaps. And if you can meet some really cool people, but then for you to meet people then to connect like that, where then you can have an opportunity to get the hell out of the country. Yeah. It's pretty cool.
Well, I mean, I feel like that's just like punk and skating and all that. Like, like, I don't know if it's different now, but like, if you see somebody, you're like, oh, that person's into like some music I'm into. And then you just like get to talking, and then, and you just kind of find your people, and there's not like a ton of us. I mean, sure there is, but like not really, so.
No, when I moved to Virginia, I didn't know anyone. And before I moved, I was heavily getting tattooed at the time. And when I got down there, I didn't know what to do. So my brother was like, go down to the tattoo shop and meet Drew.
Yeah.
And then, I was still looking for a job, and you could definitely sit on a couch at a tattoo shop for an entire day.
Yeah,
and then you start ending up with some weird tattoos. Yeah. But I wouldn't change any of those experiences, because there's so many different people there's people coming in who are just getting tattooed. Then there's other tattoo artists, and there's bartenders. Then you're going to get lunch places. It's kind of like a really cool like crossover melting pot where you can like really find out fast like who to be friends with in a city. And that's what I always like, because I mean, even back then it was weird for me to go somewhere and it was heavily tattooed. Like in Richmond, when I first got there, it was like seeing throat tattoos is like, damn, now it's like people get that for their first tattoo.
Face.
Yeah. So like it was weird to go into a city where it wasn't taboo so then you just start meeting all these different people. But that's usually where I would start. And then there's art shows, and then you start meeting different people.
It's just one thing leads to another, and then you're like, oh, let's go to this show, or you're moshing in a pit together or whatever, so I lived in Rome for like 2 years. It was almost 2 years I lived there.
Did you like it?
Yeah, I loved it. I mean, it was really hard. Like I didn't really speak the language when I went. I knew like a little bit, so obviously like the communication barrier was like hard, but like it's just hard to be like, I like bread, like, and like you'd be like, you don't know how to be funny. It's like,
I didn't even think of that.
Yeah. It's just weird.
Yeah.
But,
delivery and timing of jokes.
Yeah.
I never thought that doesn't cross over.
Yeah. It doesn't like sarcasm doesn't like really go over, but, my friends there were really cool, and they all spoke English really well, but they were like, no, you have to learn Italian. And so
that's cool.
They spoke Italian to me. Yeah. So by the time I left, and my family didn't speak any English, so, I was forced. And then I like, of course, like this is how you really learn. Like I dated this dude for a little while, and he spoke like no English. So it was like, okay, like I have to. And
you have to.
Yeah. And like he spoke like really heavy Roman. Yeah. He had like spoke really heavy Roman dialect. So like my Italian is like, it's like heavy like Roman dialect, which is like pretty funny when I speak it, because people are like, what is that word? And I was like, I don't know another word for it. But yeah, I was like probably 80% I mean, I would like dream in Italian by the time I left, you know?
Yeah.
So, I mean,
Were you like in the shows and stuff over there? Did you kind of dig into the culture and find, kind of a very similar vibe of what you were doing here over there? What's that difference like? Is it kind of the same thing, or is it the music's a little different?
Nah, it's the same. It's like I'm a hardcore kid. Like I love New York hardcore. I mean, I like all hardcore from all over the country, but like I grew up like a hardcore kid. So like Rome in particular has like a really good hardcore scene. I mean, they have bands that sound like Madball. And so it was just, it was the scene was really good there. And so it wasn't really that different than like anything else I felt very comfortable in it,
Yeah.
I mean, where you would go to shows were a little different because they would have like, you go to squats and see shows that were like in old like military like forts and shit.
Yeah, that's probably crazy.
Yeah, it was crazy out there. It was weird, but yeah, no, it was just like just plop me down there, and I was like, oh, here are my people here,
Did you work while you were there? Did you open anything?
No, my plan was to open a skate shop there because aside from my punk friends, I also had a bunch of skateboard friends that I knew.
How was the skating culture there?
Again, like, because I mean, Rome is like kind of like how New York would be, at least then, was like what New York was like probably in the I feel like would be in the 80s. It's like, it's like dirty, and I say that in like a really positive way. It's just like big, dirty, grimy city. Like the train, like the subways are still painted with graffiti.
I love all that.
Oh yeah, and it's like the youth culture there is like really strong. So the skate scene there was sick because there was like plenty of plazas for people to skate in, and it was a really cool scene. But then I learned that like I don't know, the culture in Italy is it's pretty classist. Like if you're kind of stuck in your what class you are born into, it's kind of hard to like, here it's like, okay, you work hard, you hustle, you can like do better for yourself. It's really hard to do that in Italy. There's definitely like people guard like what they have, and they don't really want like outsiders, even from like a different economic group, to come in, even if they're still only Italian. I don't know. It's pretty crazy there. I didn't believe it. My dad's friend told me that, and he's like, it's not like the West here. Like you're gonna have trouble opening stuff. And I was like, nah.
Whatever, dude.
Yeah, whatever. And then I was like, damn, this is hard. And even like, so I helped towards the end of me being there. A couple of my friends who grew up in Rome and skated, they opened a shop, and I helped them a little bit open. But seeing them even like how hard, and they were like grew up in Rome, and how hard it was for them to open a shop, I was like, oh, there had been no way I could have done it. So I just, I took like basically, I worked a little bit, but I took a couple years off. And then I was like sick of not working. I don't know. I miss going to Walgreens. That sounds so fucking weird. Like,
no, it's
like
not.
I was like,
I wish you had a Walgreens t-shirt.
I know. Like, I was like, at first it's like very charming to be like, okay, you have to go to like the shampoo store, or the wine store, or the, every store, like everything you have to go to a different store, which is like charming and like it's lovely. But like at the end I was like, yo, I just want to go to Walgreens and get like I want to get like a a loofah and some shampoo and like gum and like maybe a soda or something. And like, it was just like funny like how like I identify very heavily with being Italian, but it's funny how like American, like just culturally, like just really certain nuances I never thought about living there. I was like, oh, I'm like very American in the way that I like things, So I came back,
Where did you end up when you came back?
I moved straight. I mean, I flew into Chicago, but I moved straight to back to the Bay. I moved into Oakland, and that's where I'd been until I moved here. So yeah,
explains all the Raiders stuff now.
Yeah. Season tickets, Raider Nation. What's up? Yep. Oh, yeah. I got to see their last season. I've cried at many games. I've tailgated for years. Yeah, 12. I think we had season tickets for 12 years. For 12 years, I think we had season tickets.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So what were your plans moving to Oakland? Like, did you have an idea? I mean, because you're coming off of we're just kind of peeling this back, but I mean, to kind of get into it, like you're coming off of leaving another country. Like, so, it's like, are you planning on coming back to get a job? Are you coming back because you're just kind of itching to create something? Like what was kind of on your plate at that point?
Like probably the most didn't know what the fuck I wanted to do. Like, in my entire life.
Just Walgreens.
Yeah, I was
just
like,
Walgreens.
I want to go to Walgreens. I just was like, I didn't know what I was wanted. I didn't know what I was gonna do. I just was like, I just gonna go back to the States and just kind of like see what's up. And I mean, it was a culture shock to go back after 2 years, and so I kind of had to just like acclimate. But I had a lot of friends in the Bay. Still, and so I ended up getting a job at a tattoo shop. I worked at this place called Blackheart Tattoo for 2 years.
What were you doing there?
I was just shop helper, I was just doing that, and then I mean, as soon as I got back, I started. I mean, there was the house that I lived at with an old friend of mine. There was a thrift store, like, it was like a 10-minute bike ride away. So it was like, I mean, literally, like one of the first things I did was like.
Were you thrifting at all in Italy?
I was going to the market. I
guess it's a lot different than.
It's different. Yeah, you go to the markets.
They don't have the Q Mart.
They have vintage there. It's just it's different. It's just it's just different. But I miss thrifting also. But yeah, so I mean, the first thing I did when I got back was go to Thrift Town in El Sobrante, and Bay Area people will know what that is. It's closed now. But I remember finding this like dope ass varsity jacket, and it was like $6, and I was like, damn, this thing is so cool. And I was like, I'm back. I was like, I'm back in the States. I'm back in the mix. I'm like, I still get my shit.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I worked at the tattoo shop for a couple years, but I was definitely like thrifting and side hustling, where I was like going to Wasteland and Buffalo Exchange and like selling there. And I was making, you only make like 30%. I'd make like $300, and I'd be like, damn, if I made $300, like what can I get if I do it? Like, if I'm just selling on my own. So I started doing like the flea markets, like the Alameda market.
Like getting a table.
Yeah, that kind of thing.
How was that as an experience from owning a shop to having a table?
Well, it's a little different than the fleas here. Like the fleas there, like I would do pop-ups at bars and stuff. And there's, Alameda was like the antique market, and it's a little bit more of like, it's like a big antique market. So your prices can be like a little bit higher. You know what I mean? Like it's not like it's an antique market as opposed to like a flea market, and it's like once a month, so it's not like, here the fleas are like every day, so people can kind of spread out, and like there it's like everybody goes to one place that Sunday. But yeah, no, it was cool. I loved it. I mean, it's a lot of work. I mean, schlepping clothes and all that, and waking up early, and but I love it out there. I mean, people are weird. People who shop antiques are fucking weird, and like the people who sell junk are weird, and I love being out there just wheeling and dealing with people and talking to people. And I mean, I'm exhausted by the end of the day, but I love it. Yeah, I love being out there.
Yeah. It's got to be cool to have the freedom to do that. Yeah. Like you're saying, like it's a lot of work, but like the fact that you can get up, get in your van, and like go picking, and that's like what the day is.
Yeah.
That's dope.
Yeah, so that's why I do what I do. I make my own schedule, so that is the freedom of it. Like, I mean, I don't have a big house in the hills, but I can come and go kind of as I please. So
yeah, that's what I always tell everyone. I didn't know what the finish line for any of this was, and then once I got to where I'm at kind of now, it's just like I come and go as I please, and the money I don't look for it at all. Yeah. In the beginning, I was like, I'm going to try and get this clothing company into PacSun. And then, like, things don't go the way you think they're gonna. And then I never knew, like, when I knew this would be this. And then when I stopped hating Mondays and stopped having to drive into a job. And then because it probably took a year of, like, me being used to, like, being on my own.
Yeah.
And then I was just like, oh, shit. Yeah. I can do whatever I want. Like, I'm going to leave here, go have dinner with my mom and dad, and then come back here, work on a couple edits. And then, like, tomorrow, it's like I can do whatever I want.
Yes.
And then, like, when you start doing stuff like that, then you start changing your perspective on what work is. You start. I literally was like no longer depressed. Like I had a lot of freedom to like kind of like map my day out instead of just being confined to a 9 to 5, which I won't even be able to do ever again.
I struggle a lot with like being told to be somewhere for a certain amount of time, like being forced to be in one place for a certain amount of time. Like, I mean, I pretty much work every day, but like, and I get burnt out. Like, opening the shop, I'm like so tired this week, but like I got a lot of shit to do, but like I'm doing it for me, you know? And like I love it, like yesterday, Monday, like, I was up at 5 and, I was at the auctions by like 7:30 in the morning and like was at the auctions all morning, afternoon, and then like came back shop, did some work, and then drove out to Tom's River to go pick because there was a bunch of like Snoopy stuff I wanted to get, and then like I was home by like 9 p.m. I mean, I was like, fucking.
It's a long day.
It's a long day, but it was like.
Yeah.
I was, but I was.
You're content because it's things you want to do.
Yeah, and I like driving. I got my dog in the van.
Do you like driving in the Transit?
Oh, I love that.
I love it. I didn't know what to expect after I got rid of my car and I got that. But there was so much space up front. And then the first time I took it on, it might have been, I got it in Scranton, so like it was an hour and 15 ride home, and like 20 minutes into the ride, I was like, yo!
And it's got the big front window.
Yeah, it's so spacious. And then
I love it.
I was like, I can do a lot with this. And then I don't think I'll ever get rid of it. It'll probably get dissolved into a delivery vehicle or something. But like, I wanted to pull a trigger on a van like that for a while, and I wish I would have actually done it sooner because it really like has made everything 200 times easier.
Oh yeah, it's like my, that thing is like my second home. I mean, I've crisscrossed this country up and down, back and forth so many times. I mean,
you ever crash in the back of it?
Oh yeah,
I've yet to do it. I want to do it bad.
Yeah. Oh yeah, because like, I mean, it depends. Like sometimes, like I don't know, like I'll drive. If I'm driving like 15 hours a day, like I'm not gonna pay for a hotel, so I just like pull in some like Walmart parking lot, just put out the pad and like sleep and then you have to get up and like start driving the next day. Sometimes it's just like not, and to save money and like what, and then.
Yeah, what are you gonna spend $500? To just sleep?
Yeah, it's like 4 hours, or like what I started doing when I was on the road for longer amounts of time, because I was coming out east to like pick when I was out there. I'd come pick for like a month or two. I would stay just at these like RV places. So, they're only like $20 a night, 34, and then I'd sleep in the van. You know?
I didn't really know those places existed until I started hiking more, and then like I started seeing that you can like stay at those places, and then they have like showers, and then I was like, yo, and then I started like following other people that had, because I really started digging into like what you can do with transits, and it's crazy.
Yeah, it's so cool.
So like I started following people that like that's what they do is their social media account is they travel in these vans, and then I was just like, I didn't know there's like a whole community you can get on where you can get in touch with people where there's like a group of people staying, so it's safer. I didn't know that you can legally sleep in Walmart parking lots and it's safer.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy. There's like that promote their app, but like what's it called? Like All Stays. It's like All Trails. It's like that All Trails app.
Yeah.
But like it gives you like like the Walmarts, like you press it and you're like, oh, you can stay at this one. Okay, cool. It's like everything is like so convenient now for information, so it's like, I'll do that. I mean, after like really long picking days, sometimes it's nice to like have a shower and like watch TV, but if I'm out on the road for a long time, it's just not it's just stupid. And I got my dog and he's like hella protective, so I'm not like too worried about
you rolling like Mad Max.
It's straight. No, I mean, he is a Mad Max dog.
Yeah. As soon as I saw him, I was like, I just that dog always stuck out to me in the movie.
I mean, he's like, there's that scene also in Mad Max and the dog just like leaps out of the window of the car. Like he'd for sure do that. Like for sure. So he's
cool.
He's a good boy.
So when you came back to the area, and then you kind of started getting your groove picking and all that, is this kind of like lining up to where you and your friend open a shop together?
Yeah, I was because I was just like, I was picking and doing that. Working tattoo shop and then doing this as like the side hustle, and it just started like working out, and I was making a little bit of money, and so I wanted to just do more of that. And then I was part of this vintage co-op in Oakland called Down at Lulu's that was owned by two like pretty like well-known like Bay Area musicians, Tina Lucchese and Seth Bogart. And they, you know, and they've both gone on to do other things now, but having that experience working at a co-op really helped being in business with somebody, because we kind of like, nobody knew that we picked separately, but we kind of ran it as a co-op where we would each put like our own things in and then you like get our money from that. You know, it was just like the system at the co-op just like really worked. And I was like, oh, and so we applied that to like our business. But yeah, me and my friend Sarah Rainey, still like one of my best homegirls, we just would pick a lot together, and she was at the co-op too. And I hadn't really thought about opening a shop. And then this storefront came up in this, it's called the Temescal Alley. And it was all these little storefronts. They used to be horse stables, and then they were like storage units. And then, so it was just like this really cute little alley street that had like, you know, like the barbershop, the jewelry store, the plant store,
That's awesome.
It was like one of those things that was like very community, and it was just starting, and a space ended up becoming available, and I just was like, hey, you want to do this shop? And so yeah, we just did it, and that was so we opened that in 2012, and then she was around till I think I wrote on the Insta, I think it was like end of 2018 she left, I think, because she had small kids, and moved out to like the North Bay, and she was over it, you know. And it just, I mean, picking is like, if you do it seriously, like I people who have children who are in this, like, do this job, like, I have so much respect for, because like, I don't know how they do it. It's like, it's just so much as it is, like, you know, it's like the thing of like being at the auctions all day and then like driving to like the shore the same day.
Yeah.
Like how do you manage that with like, you know?
It's a different pace. I mean, just from the small window I've seen from talking through your stories and then talking through Mike's, it's like a full-time commitment, especially if, you know, he's just doing it online. But like for what he was doing back then and what he's doing now, like it's crazy. It's crazy to, and then like, it's what's also cool is like when you guys find like your little spots where like, you know, like he'll sometimes hit me up and be like, I got these 5 velvet paintings, and I'm like, yo, and then like I got a guy who's just unloading a bunch of them, and it's like, you know, that's gonna dry up, and he's eventually gonna get them all. But it's really cool. I mean, it just from talking to both of you. I mean, we used to get up back in the day, and we'd go to the Sailorsburg one, and you'd have to get up early, but we'd go to that, and then we'd get breakfast afterwards, and it was like kind of like what we would do on Saturdays. But I bought some like really cool shit. Like I found a barber chair for like $40, and it was like an antique one. And that painting over there I bought was like one of the first thing I ever found somewhere. Sick. And it was just kind of like me finding weird stuff and just like, you know, going and relaxing, and just, you know, sometimes there's too many people there, but like I always liked that. I think it started when we would go down south to visit relatives in South Carolina. We had a cousin, and we would go to like the big like markets they would have down there where it would just be pavilions. And I remember like as a kid trying to find the sunglasses from Terminator, but every single pair was completely scratched. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and then we would just walk through, and it was just always interesting. And I had an uncle who was a garbage picker. And like, he was like, we would go visit them, and you'd go into his basement, and it was like, you know, back then they would just throw shit out. Like he had a gun, like a BB gun, and then the sight was broke, so they just threw it out. So he would go through these dumpsters, but he always had crazy stories, and it's always been like an appealing thing growing up. Yeah,
you just never know, like, you don't know where the day's going to take you, you know, and like you never know what you're going to find, and you know, if you just love it that much, it's like it's just like insatiable. That's why it's like I was like I said, like I was like I just picked you know, the rest of that day, and like
and every piece you have in the shop has a story. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I was like, where'd you get that? It was like the seal. Like the circus thing. But then like it's cool talking to people who have shops like that, or like, you know, there's specific pieces where it's like, you know, you lit up and you're like, I found that. I should have bought both of them. And you know what I mean? Like there's always a cool story behind how you found everything. Yeah.
And the way that I pick pieces for the shop too, like I feel like, you know, I do all eras. Like I have certain eras that I like more, but at my shop I mix all eras. But I feel like if I see something and I feel a certain way when I see it, that like somebody else is gonna, because people are like, well, what kind of stuff do you buy? And I'm like, I kind of just buy like, I buy what I like, because I feel like if I see something, I'm like, oh, this thing is so cool.
And now people are emotionally buying things.
Yeah, like and then I put it in, they're gonna be like, oh, that thing's cool. I'm like, yeah, that thing's cool, right? Like, so, that's kind of like, how when I put everything in the store, like I personally like. I like it a lot. I'm not just like, oh, this old thing, I'll just buy this and put it in.
Or just grabbing something because you think it's going to sell for a lot of money.
Yeah, no, I just, I'll definitely, yeah.
What was the vibes like of the shop that you co-owned with her? Because it's always difficult to have two ideas and kind of make it one, but it seems like you guys are super close, so I'm sure it wasn't that difficult. But like, what was your vibe for the store there?
We have very similar aesthetics. She was definitely like, and it worked really well. It was similar aesthetics. Her style was like a little bit like more. She would buy some like real crazy shit, like some like palazzo pants had like fruit all over. I mean, I would buy that too, but she was like, her fashion was like a little bit like more out there, and I was a little bit more like just like jeans and t-shirts and stuff.
Yeah.
And so, but
that's a good mix though.
It worked really well together. But and nobody like knew that we like really picked separately for the store, because we could our aesthetics melded really well together. But the vibe there was a little more it was concrete floors and a brick wall, and so it was Oakland, so it was like a little bit more, I feel like it's like maybe a little bit more like I like industrial, but it was like that era was also very like Americana hunting, like it was like the era of like the Red Wings and the work boots and the hunting jackets and like that whole style. I mean, the vibe was, I would say, similar, but I feel like my shop here is a little bit more like, I hate the word whimsical, but it's like a little more fun. I think just because my frame of mind is a little bit lighter and playful, kind of, because I'm not so fucking stressed out like I was like in Oakland. So like I feel like the shop vibe is just a little lighter and like more fun. And I mean, the stuff I find, I find such weird stuff out here, and so I like to put that in the store.
It definitely gets weird. Right
I love it.
Yeah, because when I had asked you about like, when you came here and you were looking for a shop, like you were talking about how you picked a lot out this way, and then like, what was it, you found Easton, and then that was kind of like,
I was coming out here, I was kind of getting sick. When I was in Cali, I was picking the Southwest a lot, and I just kind of was like sick of picking that area. So I had come out to visit some friends in Chicago, and I was like, oh, I drove all the way to Chicago, like I might as well just like start going like further east and picking, because I hadn't really like, I mean, I'd been to New York and, I'd been to Philly and stuff, but I hadn't like really like, I grew up in Chicago. It's like, like aside from New York, like people are like, oh, you never went to Milwaukee? I was like, why would I go to Milwaukee? Much, no disrespect to Milwaukee, but like as a city kid, you're kind of like, well, this is, my city is this, and that's it. So I had never really like explored the East Coast. And so, I just kind of kept driving and was picking, and I was just finding like it was so cool to just find different sort of things and different styles of things, like more like folk arty stuff.
Yeah, it's got to be completely backwards.
Yeah, it was totally different. And like stuff, I like the old stuff, and there was just a lot more old stuff. And so, I was coming out to pick like for a month at a time. And then one year I did like 2 months. I was just on the road with the dog, and I
found that interesting too, that you would stay out for months.
Yeah, it was just, I don't know, like it was weird. It seemed like a long time. It also seemed like not very long, like I probably could have done another month, It was just expensive sending stuff back. But and at that time too, I was kind of wanting to leave California. And so in 2019, when I was on the road for a month, I'd really liked Pennsylvania. Like for some reason, I just kept the picking was good, of course, but like I like the people here. It's just so pretty here, and I just kept like circling back to PA, and I just thought like, I don't know, I'm like, I'll move to Pennsylvania. So I was basically like picking and driving around looking for somewhere to move. And then a friend of mine who lives in Honesdale, Holly area, my friend Dan, who tattoos up there, and I'm good friends with his wife Summer. She painted my windows, but and she has a vintage called Crazy Autos Vintage. He was like, I was like, oh, what places should I check out? And he was like, oh, like you want city or country? I'm like, I'm a city kid. And he's like, well, check out Easton. It's kind of like a small city. So I don't know. I was here for like 3 days, and I was like, this is my vibe I'm looking for.
Yeah.
It's like, it's like a small city, but like, it's like a city. It's like a mini city, and it has like places to eat, and but it still feels like a little bit smaller, like town vibe, where it's like it's slow. It was slower, and that's what I was looking for. And so I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna move. I was like, this is the place. I didn't know one person. I was like, I'm gonna move here.
That's cool though. I mean, Easton is definitely the perfect spot for
Yeah.
fitting your needs, and then I don't know, kind of your entire vibe of what you're doing. I don't think you would mesh really anywhere else but Easton. Easton's got a really cool collective of like artists and
Yeah.
restaurants, and
Yeah.
like they've really 360'd that entire area.
Totally.
Out of Allentown, Nazareth, Bethlehem's all right. But like Easton, I think, has done it correctly, and they do a lot for the businesses, and I
Yeah.
think they put the businesses first, and I think
Yeah.
it kind of shows.
Yeah, I had that was like one of the vibes when I first was in Easton. I just had that vibe that was like the people who live here like really love this town.
Yeah.
And like are really trying to make it like better. Like I could feel that there was like this momentum there that I just like in my gut I was like, I think like this is I could feel like there was something happening there, and I was like, this is.
And every business I bring on from Easton between Five and Dime, and I brought Nate on from the barber shop, and
Nate.
his neighbor, what's his face, over at ABE. I actually
yeah.
saw him at the gym today. He's
Oh,
like,
cool.
yo,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
like, what's
yeah.
up?
Yeah. I see those
I'm like,
guys.
I'm dying.
Yeah. See, every day on the way to the post
Yeah.
office, I see those guys.
Yeah, and then I just every business that comes on from Easton, and the more I keep doing with Easton, everybody's just kind of like, it's the same thing. It's like,
Yeah.
they do the Easton out loud, and it's
Yeah.
just like they kind of really take care of the businesses there.
Yeah, no,
And it's a good place to start something to be able to grow it.
Yeah.
Because there's so many, they're putting up the parking garage now, which was the answer to the public market.
Yeah.
And like, they really seems like when an issue comes up, they fix it. It's not like,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
we'll
they're
talk.
like, "No."
We'll talk in 6 months
Yeah.
at a board meeting,
Yeah.
and it's just like, what? Like,
Yeah.
when I redid the skate park or like took control of that project, I always tell everybody it took longer for Nazareth to allow me to do it than the actual project.
Yeah.
The project was done in 3 days. My brother came down, welded the thing that was
Yeah.
broke, and then it's just like I borrowed a pressure washer from the place that
Yeah.
I worked, and then my friends came down and rolled all the ramps so there was resurfaced on them again.
Yeah.
And then it was like I was like, hey, can I plant flowers over here? Because I know a guy who runs a nursery, and
Yeah.
they're like, oh, we didn't even think. And it's just like, what? Like, you're not.
Yeah, just,
It was.
just be involved and
It
like
took
proactive.
3 months. 3 months
Oh.
for them. I had to keep going back to meetings, and like,
Yeah.
I had to like trick them in a sense. So like, I
Yeah.
covered my tattoos the first time I came in. I wore a tie, and
Yeah.
then like everyone's looking at me like, oh, you're like talking, and I'm like, yeah, like, because the first problem was they used to not let BMX kids there.
Okay.
So I stood up and was like, okay, like, why can't we have the BMX kids there? And they're like, well, the ramps are only for skateboards. And I'm like, that's not a thing.
No.
So then they were like, okay, well, that's what somebody told us. And I was like, well,
No.
where's that person? And they're like, well, he's no longer dealing with the skate park. And I was like, well, then why are we listening to somebody's
Yeah.
rules who are no longer here?
Yeah, exactly.
So then I was like, can we allow BMX bikes so then the cops can stop coming through there and bothering everyone? And they were like, all looked at each other and they were like,
They're like,
it was literally that. And then they were like, yeah, okay. And I was like, cool. So I can tell people. And then that was it.
Yeah.
I don't even think they made an announcement. The cops just stopped bothering people. And I'm like, so nothing has changed except for that you guys don't bother
Yeah.
kids down there.
Yeah.
And then the
yeah.
kids stopped wrecking the park because they
Right.
weren't being told to leave.
Right, they weren't
And then I'm
mad.
like, you got like, that was step one. Then it was like, hey, I want to fix this. And then they're like, all right, well, we're going to have a meeting about whether or not you can fix our park for free. And I'm like, what are you talking
Like, I
about?
just did it, so-
And then they have a meeting once a month. So if you want something done,
Yeah.
and let's say the meeting was yesterday and I need to talk to them,
No,
I have
it's
to wait a month.
Yeah.
And cool, I'm just doing it.
Yeah.
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 But like, I feel like Easton has that under control.
Yeah, they definitely. Yeah, they have a vision for the city, and I know it's like there's a lot of growth happening very fast, and I know it's concerning a lot of people. It's like, all the luxury apartments, and you want to make sure still it's like affordable for people and things like that. But there's those struggle. I mean, it's like everywhere I've lived has been like,
Yeah.
So
It's growing pains.
Yeah, it's growing pains. But I think, there's just a lot of really great creative people in Easton that make it what it is, that are doing cool, good things there, that I think have like a say in things. So I hope that like continues and that Easton thrives,
Yeah.
So.
What was your vision coming into Easton? Did you have kind of the layout in your head of like what you wanted the shop to be, and like could you kind of picture it? And then when you found the spot, which is really cool, like what was that like for you to come into the city? You don't know anyone. Obviously, it always takes a couple times till you find the right space.
Yeah.
So it's like when you found the right space, could you have already envisioned it to get going?
Yeah, I from opening up different spaces, and I've just worked retail since I was like a teenager. So merchandising and making things shoppable is just like, it's like second nature to me. And I do a lot of like online business, but it's not my favorite. Like I like to have a space that people can come into and like see the vibe and have a feeling, and like especially with like vintage and antique stuff, like you want to touch it. It's not like just taking a picture of a thing online and then just having like 25 of them. There's just like one of everything. So yeah, and I mean I think a lot about like how, I don't know. I mean how like that sounds weird to say, like how I would want a space to be, or like I don't know, like but yeah, I guess I have a vision. I mean, I always do. I'm pretty like aesthetic, like psycho about like the aesthetics around me and how I want things to look, like everything has its place. And then a lot of times you just find a piece that is inspiring, and then that sort of, you base your shop or your space off of a piece. Like I found this cool old shelf that was like 2 squares that were like intertwined, and it was just this cool shape, and it was a little red shelf, and I was like, oh, this is a really cool, and somebody just made it, and I was like, this would be cool for shelves in the shop. And so I had like somebody like build those shelves for me, and that's like part of the centerpiece of the shop. So it's just like, I think it's just like you find a couple pieces you're inspired by, and you just start to like build around that. And then you also have to make it like, I mean, it has to be shoppable for people too, so that comes into my frame of thought of like, how high is this like shelf going to be, and is there enough space, and is this space shoppable? And that's all. I think there's from like years of being in retail and
opening the skate shops too.
Yeah, just owning shops. That it's like it's like inherent. It's just like I just know it, and I know where. I'm a very decisive person, so I'm like yes there, and yes, no. So, but yeah, I had a vision. It's like of that space, like also just existing in a space before you build it out, and just living in it for a little bit, and just finding out what works where. And it kind of took a while for the permits to come through, so I was in that space for quite some time before I could open it, which
and
was
you're
a
officially
blessing.
Open now, right?
I had my like soft opening on the 1st on Friday, and this weekend, Saturday, Sunday was my first days open. How'd
it feel to make the transition to Easton, get the spot that you wanted, and then I saw the spot, and it's dope, and I'm actually excited to see it because you just kept apologizing. This
I know
look this way,
just, like,
but then I saw pictures and I was like, "Yo, she cleaned that up."
I cleaned it. I get shit done. I'm like, it looks like a horde mess, but I'm like, no, in like a day it's gonna be. I have it dialed in.
What's it been like, having it open now and like kind of like starting this new chapter in your life,
cool.
and you're in Easton, and you're here, and you've traveled the world, and now you've landed. Now you've landed in Easton, and you got your shop and your dog, and you're picking, and what's life like for you now?
I'm stoked, man. Like, it was cool opening the doors, and just, I had some visitors that knew me, but then also it was just really cool. I have like super random people that like they just were like walking by and came in, and I was like, oh yeah, this is why I do what I do. I like to have people in my space. No, it feels great. Like I've had one thing I want to mention too is I like that the friends I've made like in Easton, just in like the Lehigh Valley, have been like so generous and so nice, and like been so helpful with me, like hanging shelves at the shop, or just like hanging like a freaking curtain rod, or like, it's just like people have been so generous and nice and helpful. And I like really appreciate that like so much. And just like definitely feel the love here. But yeah, it's been great. I'm stoked to have the shop open, and now I have like a schedule, I guess. But yeah, I'm open Thursday through Sunday. Hours may vary, but Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. If you just DM me on Instagram, I can do like an appointment. I'm kind of in and out. Those are like my picking days. But
That's cool to start the week that way.
yeah, yeah, and yeah, no, it feels good. Yeah, I'm just like cruising along, and picking's good, and yeah, just spring's about to start, which is always like a rebirth time of year. So yeah, no, it's good. I'm stoked. I'm real stoked on being out here. I feel like it was a good decision to come out, and yeah, I just never looked back, man.
No, it's a crazy story. And then just being able to pick through it has just been fun to because everybody kind of just like blows over. They're like, yeah, I was in Italy, and then it's just like, well, time out. How was Italy? I've been stuck in this basement. But what are your plans with the shop? Like, where do you see it going? Like, like what do you want to do with kind of this space now? Because what's cool is you can always have different stuff in there because you're picking.
Yeah.
And you had so much stuff in the back where I was like, damn,
God,
like you have so much stuff. But like what are your plans for it? I mean, are you gonna do like art shows there? Do you want to do little stuff there? Do you want to be doing pop-ups anywhere? Like what do you see coming down the pipe?
I'm gonna be doing a bunch of shows. Spring through summer and fall is like show season out here. So I'd like to try to do like at least one show a month. So like the first May 9th, I think it is. I'm gonna be doing.
So when you say shows, you mean
like a vintage show,
yeah.
I mean, I'll do some flea markets. Like I'm gonna probably like put out some like sales, like put a big pile of like inexpensive stuff for the Kutztown like extravaganza, but like just do the more like sort of like curated shows. Like there's the one in Sturbridge. That's Monday, I think it's the 9th, and it kicks off Brimfield Week.
So you'll travel to do those and set
yeah,
up.
that's in Massachusetts, and the roster of people selling is like really good. It's like good, like just great people with great stuff and great points of view. And then at the end of May, I'm going to be doing the show called Faded, which a couple dudes up in Providence, Rhode Island are doing. They're really like pushing it. There's like art shows and music, and it's like going to be a whole weekend of stuff. But yeah, I'm going to be doing like more of that kind of thing. I'm be vending like, Easton's a little like walk by traffic's a little slow. So, I like to just like, I think once a month, like, or even twice during the season, like do a show, go travel, do a show.
That's fun though.
Yeah,
I like
it.
I like seeing the angles and the freedom, and I like that you do not. I'm at a shop. I'm here every day.
No.
You know what I mean? Like the fact that you're like, cool, like I'm going to go here. The shop's going to be closed that weekend, and I'm going to go kind of explore. And I love that you don't let go of the travel and the adventure, even if it's only a couple miles or to Kutztown, like you still get the whole vibe of it, which I think is cool because it seems like, well, it is the core of like who you are as a person. Is like where you're traveling and you're expressing yourself through art, and you're getting to be able to go through other people's like art and things that you can kind of like. It's a very unique thing that you do, but then for you to completely live that true to it, where it's in your DNA. Like you have to get out, and you do want to do those shops. It's not for any other purposes than like probably to feel like you're off of a leash. Yeah,
totally. And like, I mean, I'll probably like on the weekends I'll have somebody like watch the shop and stuff, I've had, some interest from some of the like younger kids in the area that like are stoked on the shop and like are into vintage and stuff. So that's cool. Yeah. And also like on my door, it says hours may vary. I put that on there on purpose because I was like, you never know.
I like that.
You never know. And I have my little schedule like on the window of the week, like when I'm going to be there, and I'm easy to get a hold of if you like really need to get a hold of me. But yeah, I mean, it's, I love being in the shop, but being good at this and successful is also having the freedom to like go pick and go like be off into the wind and digging around in some raccoon poop, when you need to.
Yes,
So,
yes.
it's so, but yeah, so there'll be a bunch of those shows this year. The season's getting stacked up, so I'm looking forward to that.
It's cool because what also was cool was seeing people reposting stuff. Like Lydia was over there, and then
she's
how
great.
you want, I think you said you're gonna do the vintage thing that they put up, and then
Yeah.
I saw Ray post stuff. Ray usually finds the cool stuff first.
Yeah.
So when I think I might have saw Ray post something that you were in the area. That even might be where I stumbled upon your Instagram. But seeing Ray there, and then seeing these people that I kind of brush elbows with.
Yeah.
Where I do the food for their festival thing, and Ray's been on the show multiple times and does a lot of cool stuff. So it's always awesome when I rub elbows with really cool people, but then seeing them actually support a scene that they're into, and that those guys coming to the grand opening. I don't know, I was just fuck yeah, it's awesome that there are people in the area who are diehard support for vintage and stuff that.
Yeah, and
different scenes.
Oh yeah, no, I found people have been, it's been so refreshing, and just people have been so supportive and excited and stoked, and and I feel the same way about the things that they're doing. It just feels very positive community, and it's not it's it's true, it's a real
unless
interaction.
it's coming from Chris Reject.
Yeah, fuck that guy. Just kidding. I'll see you at the bash. I told him I was gonna wrestle his ass at the bash.
Is that next month?
It's Friday.
It's this Friday?
Yeah, it's this Friday.
He's got 2 coming up.
Okay.
I wanted to bring him in, but it's just everything's been so crazy. And he'll text me and be like, "Ah." But I think he's got another one after that. I wanted to bring him in here to promote it.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. Yeah, it's on the south side where I live, so
I'm just gonna tell him you were this week,
there.
so he didn't get. He didn't get.
Tell him I bumped his ass off.
Yeah, because where is it now? It's at
Weyerbacher.
Yeah, that's a cool venue to have that at.
Yeah, it's gonna be.
He always
fun.
finds cool stuff to host that stuff.
Yeah, it's gonna be super fun. I'm excited for it. It'll be good times.
I can't wait to text him now and be like, "Yo, sorry, I didn't know it was Friday." And he's like, "You idiot! I texted you the dates 3 times." He always yells at me for my grammar. I want to wrap this up just because your dog's in the car. This was a blast. When I met you or saw your stuff, I immediately knew this was going to be a really cool thing, and you just had good vibes with you. And then when I met you in person, I was like, "This is such a rad story. I can't wait to dig through this." But
thanks for having me.
No,
Appreciate it.
you've had a really wild story, and from opening businesses and traveling and not being afraid to go other places, and you just kind of kept yourself, who you are and your core, every single place that you came. And it's awesome that we get to experience that in Easton and have that in the Lehigh Valley. I want to give you a chance to plug where the store is, your Instagram, anywhere anybody can get a hold of anything that you do.
So the shop's called Mind's Eye Vintage, and I'm downtown Easton, so I'm 330 Spring Garden Street. Personally, one of my favorite streets in Easton, and it's
a dope little area.
Yeah, it's cute. It's right across from the church, but
Parking's not bad over there either.
Yeah, it's not bad. Between 3rd and 4th, sometimes you got to circle around, park over down more by the Colonial, but yeah, you'll find parking over there. And yeah, I'm like I said, I'm open 11 Thursday through Saturday, 11ish to 6ish. More probably 11:30 to 5. But you know,
gotta put the sh on the hours.
Yeah, it's ish for sure.
Well, she's saying ish.
Yeah, then Sunday's 11 to 4. You know, ish. But you can always DM me on Instagram. My Instagram's just Mind's Eye Vintage, one word. And I'm always if you're visiting the area and you want to come in and it's a Tuesday, just DM me, because I'm sure I'm somewhere in town or with an hour away, or I might be in Massachusetts, but I don't know. DM me. I'm more than happy to come in. Open
your
the shop.
Instagram, you were super receptive on that. That's how I got a hold of you.
Yeah, I for all its faults, it's also, I've met so many great people, and it's just a very easy way for me to communicate on there. But come visit the shop. There's always new stuff, and I have a ton of stuff in the back too. So if you don't see something and you're like, "Hey, do you have anything like this?" I'll be I'll pull out a bin, and you can dig through a bin, because the shop's like smaller, so I just, can't put everything out, but I know everything that I have. So
Cool.
yeah. Thanks again for having me. I appreciate it.
Of course.
Yeah.
If you're a first-time listener, first-time watcher to anything Never Again Studio, go to neveragainstudio.com. That has all of our links for previous shows. It has the YouTube on there, Spotify, iTunes, anything Never Again Studio. If you search it, it will come up. The apparel, by the time this comes out, we will be up and running. I'm switching over to drop shipping, so if you want a t-shirt, you will have it within a day or two, and I found somebody who will work with that. They sponsor the show, so all that's going to go swimmingly, let's hope. The show comes out. I just totally shut my apparel business down. So that's Never Again Studio. Subscribe to the YouTube. Thank you so much. I want to get you to your dog.
All right, later. Thanks.
Yeah.
Never Again Radio. Get into it, brother.